After a scintillating regular season in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, we arrive for the second consecutive year to Germany, to the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. We are back here for the semi-finals of the playoffs here in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. In this championship, the playoffs mean double points. Anyone can still win the championship as long as they've got a mathematical chance. But there are double points available, and that means that the door is wider open than ever for our front runners in both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2 to challenge for a title. However, at this stage of the season, there is no longer any room for a slip-up. The time for drop scores has concluded. From here, it's a dash to the title. They can't afford a bad race performance, and they certainly can't afford a bad qualifying performance. We are here for qualifying this morning for both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2. It will be EuroNASCAR Pro out there first. The EuroNASCAR Pro category features a 15-minute qualifying session, and that will be followed by a 5-minute superpole, a 2-lap dash for the top 10 drivers to determine their spot on the first 5 rows of the grid. We'll then have a 20-minute traditional qualifying session for the drivers in EuroNASCAR 2. Here you see the playoff system, the point system. The days of 40 points for a win are over. It's now up to 80 points. And as you can see, a 10-point swing between first and second place means that victories are critical. And if you do start further back in the pack, being aggressive is critical, because look at that, 8 points as a bonus for the most positions gained. It is plausible that being able to overtake around a circuit like Oschersleben could prove to be a title-winning skill. The previous 9 races, the best 8 results have been taken to form the standings at this juncture. And in EuroNASCAR Pro, it is Vittorio Garelli that leads the championship. Liam Hasemans is 8 points back, just 8 points back. Of course, some of you may recall Vittorio Garelli was handed a points penalty during the season. That's why he's not quite as far ahead as perhaps his performances behoove. Paul Giffreau in third in the points. Gianmarco Ercoli, our defending champion, 26 back in fourth. He'll be looking for form that has so far evaded him this season. Luca Lasser in fifth position. Tobias Dauenhauer, who took a great result here last year, looking for a good run from sixth in the standings. Martin Dubeck, Mark Goosens, Ulis Delso and Ryan Vargas round out the top 10. Massimilio Lanza leading Challenger Trophy, and as you can see, Liam Hasemans, as well as being the current primary contender to Vittorio Garelli, he is also the Junior Trophy leader. 5 minutes then until the countdown to green is complete. And of course, we've already had a day of running here this weekend. Friday home to practice, as well as the regularity format EuroNASCAR Club Challenge, which was won yesterday by EuroNASCAR 2 regular Reza Sardeha. So a good congratulations to him. You see the format for the weekend. 2 races today, 2 races on Sunday, in addition to qualifying. And they've already completed their free practice for the day. Coming out of free practice in EuroNASCAR Pro, perhaps to the surprise of few, it was Vittorio Garelli who was fastest in the sessions across the day yesterday. However, some interesting moves through the top 10. For example, Ryan Vargas, 4th fastest across the 2 practice sessions yesterday. This is the circuit where the American racer made this his debut in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. So for the first time this season, Ryan Vargas is at a circuit that he has been to before, and that will be critical. Fans still making their way in to the Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben. Bright and early at the moment. I understand there's a bit of a queue to get in this morning, but I'm sure even those that are waiting to get in at the moment will soon hear the engines fire. The countdown to green is in just over 3 minutes here for our EuroNASCAR Pro qualifying session. I am joined in the commentary box by Andre Viegold. We didn't get to hear as much of you as we'd have liked last time in Most, Andre. How are you doing this morning, sir? We're on your home turf. We're back in Oschersleben.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Germany. I'm really happy that we're here at this beautiful Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben. A really nice track because as a spectator, at a certain point, you can see all of the action. You can see 70% of the track, so you can really follow the battles that are coming up in the two races. And therefore, we are going to have a really, really nice day. We are really lucky with the weather here. It was cold last week in Germany, but this weekend we have, late summer temperatures above 20 degrees, and therefore everything is set. We have a clear blue sky. We have more than 20 cars ready to fire these V8 engines, and a lot of people already on the grandstands I can see, but we know that there's a little bit of a traffic jam, so we expect the grandstands to fill later today for the two races. But as you said, Adam, the qualifying may be crucial. It's double points on the line. Now it's a championship battle. In EuroNASCAR Pro, we have so many contenders still able to fight themselves back on top of the standings, because we see Girelli, Hazemans and Giuffro close to each other, but also the reigning champion Gianmarco Ercoli, one of the most experienced drivers on the grid, Luca Lasser, and also the German local hero Tobias Daunauer in the 99 Premotion Chevrolet still have chances to get back into the playoff into the championship contention. And the playoff format is really the key moment of the season. You cannot afford any single mistake. If there's something happen, everything can mix up.
Well, I mean, I would argue anyone in that top 10 could still come away with the EuroNASCAR Pro Championship with over 320 points left to score. 320 points in terms of race wins, and also, of course, an additional 32 points still up for grabs for most positions gained. That is, you know, a vanishingly small percentage, given Ryan Vargas in 10th is 71 back with effectively 852 points left to score. That means that realistically, anyone in that top 10, if things go badly for the likes of Girelli or Hazemans or Giuffro at the front, it really could go any way. And those who have experience of this circuit from last year, which, you know, is pretty much everyone in the top 10 now, even including Ryan Vargas, I wouldn't be surprised if we look at the point standings as they are at this second, then look at them at the end of Zolder and see two very different championship orders. Have the likes of Gianmarco Ercoli found something over the course of the last few weeks since Most? Will we see new race winners this weekend at the most critical time in the season? Well, we're about to get some way towards finding out as the qualifying session begins. The top 10 from this session will advance through into the superpole shootout, and then we will also be determining with this 15-minute session 11th place back on the grid for race 1 later today. There's the number 14 leading them out, Ulysse Delso for Speedhouse in the number 14. It was our first visit to the Oschersleben circuit here last year, our first time on German turf in quite a few seasons, and it proved to be a hit. The fans really embraced it here. The kind of local American car enthusiasts came in their droves. We're expecting much the same here this weekend. But the other thing that I think was telling here at Oschersleben last year was some of the racing action that we saw. We saw some great brazen overtaking, particularly at the end of the back straight into the final sector. also into turn 1. And if you're Ryan Vargas, even around the outside of the Hasserode hairpin at turn 3. So we did see last year that these cars can very much race around the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. But saying that, Andre, I do feel like this is one of the circuits where qualifying matters the most. And for one driver, unfortunately, qualifying is going to be a non-starter. The 46 of Thomas Chrysonis coming to a halt on his sighting lap in qualifying, and that is not the start to the weekend that the Greek driver wanted.
No, definitely not. And it's really a shame for the German team, Markus Stipp Motorsport, because they're here in front of their home crowd. And to start a weekend like this, it's going to be a really, really tough day for Thomas Chrysonis, who has definitely the speed and the pace to be in the top 10, even in EuroNASCAR Pro. He's pulling double duty, is competing in both championships. But at the moment, I don't see any red flags out there. So at the moment we're going, the cars are already on the start-finish straight. So I think we go with local yellows at the moment. Hopefully the marshals can remove the car or put it in a safe place so we can have a fully green circuit, because we just have 12 minutes left. And if we have any obstacles on track, this may be very interesting in seeing who's going into superpole.
Of course, the other thing to consider, of course, is if you are new to the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, these cars are, broadly speaking, used in both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2. The same chassis pulls double duty, and in certain cases, as we go to full course yellow to collect the car of Thomas Chrysonis, in certain cases, both car and driver do double duty, and that is the case for Thomas Chrysonis of Markus Stipp Motorsport. And even though, as you said, he's got the pace to challenge in EuroNASCAR Pro as well, it is that EuroNASCAR 2 campaign that is his most likely source of glory, of course, for the 2024 season, having had some great results so far this year, including at what is his almost kind of second home in the UK of Brands Hatch. The fact that he's currently stranded about as far away from the paddock as you can possibly be here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, that jeopardizes not just this qualifying session, but potentially also the one that really counts for his championship efforts in EuroNASCAR 2.
Yeah, but there's one thing, the drivers are now a little bit forced to save the tires, because in EuroNASCAR it's like you get one set of tires before qualifying, a brand new set of tires. In free practice you can do whatever you want, but the rules say one set of tires before qualifying, and this set of tires has to last also the 2 races of the race weekend per division. So they are forced a little bit to save the tires right now, and I think we are ready for the restart, because I have race control in my ear as well. I am in the radio, and we have green flags out there, so we go and keep on going now with the qualifying session, and I think we have 10 minutes left to go.
There you go. So a bit of an axe taken to the total qualifying time for everybody. We are going to see some weird and wonderful lap times come in, depending on how much of everyone's lap was covered by full course yellow. So we're not going to take too much heed into the lap times just yet. And of course, a couple of the drivers towards the front of the queue, like Ulysse Delso, just started yet another lap under full course yellow. So this lap won't really count for the likes of Delso either, and that will be frustrating for him. There we see Vittorio Garelli in the 24 being pursued by Fabrizio Armetta in the 55. Of course, it's worth noting that the Club Motorsport, they had a lot of work to do after Most, of course, one of their cars very heavily involved in the incident at the second race at Autodrome Most. I believe they might have pressed another chassis into use. And it's also great to see that Sebastian Blekemolen is back out there. Sebastian and team have had to rebuild that car a couple of times now this season. He's been involved in both of our road course big ones this year. But Sebastian Blekemolen, a driver that's seen it all and done it twice, he can get back into the saddle with an amount of confidence that maybe some newer drivers wouldn't after scares like that.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I really like when I see this qualifying session? Let's say we have a really open interpretation of track limits here this weekend. We already saw drivers cutting the chicane, going out wide. So the Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben, Race Control, and EuroNASCAR decided to have a really, really open definition of track limits. So the drivers can really use a lot of the spaces here. The white lines, yeah, you can cross them here and there. So this also means that we have a lot of action. They will go directly to the grass and push the limits. And this is what I really like, because you can see how they wrestle those 1,225 kilogram V8 cars with 400 HP. So it's really nice to see that we have a little bit of room to, yeah, let's say, create rules here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. And I really like to see that because, yeah, in the past we also had issues with a lot of lap times in qualifying deleted due to track limits. This will not be the case here today.
It's in keeping with the NASCAR spirit as well, as we see your point there at the chicane with them going well over the white line. Anyone who watched the Cup Series at Watkins Glen last week knows good and well the American NASCAR approach to track limits on road courses is if there's tarmac, we don't see why you shouldn't use it. And that's exactly what we're seeing here this weekend at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. And as you say, it can be quite refreshing when in certain instances the track limits are very strictly enforced at certain circuits. So then, Liam Hasemans had just set a good benchmark, but a better benchmark has just come in, and it's from, no surprises here, Vittorio Garelli. A 131.817 is the first time of the qualifying session that I would describe as truly competitive. The fastest time last year in qualifying was a 131.364. That was from Tobias Dauenhauer. So obviously we can expect times well into the 31s again here this year, especially as drivers come a little bit more experienced with Oschersleben here in the EuroNASCAR Pro category. Of course, lest we forget, the objective here is simply to get into the top 10 and get into the shootout. But good benchmark already set by Vittorio Garelli. I don't know if a 31.8 will be enough to keep him safe, but I think he may have already done enough there.
And there's one interesting thing. We always have to take a little bit of a look at how many laps you have on those tires after qualifying. The drivers outside of the top 10, they stop. They will not put any more laps on their tires, but everyone in the top 10 will have additional 2 fast laps on their Hoosier stickers. So, of course, you want to start from pole. Of course, you want to be in front, but that also means you stress the tires a little bit more. And in Q1, that's one of the strategies, is to get a decent lap that's enough to be in the top 10 within the first 2 or 3 laps, so you can save again those Hoosier tires. So there's a lot of strategy and tactic going on as well in qualifying here in EuroNASCAR, because tire management plays a key role, especially when you have to preserve the tire until Sunday. In Sunday's race, you still have the same set of tires on your car, and therefore you have to see the big picture and make the right decisions. So it's not just go fast. You really have to have a plan and have a strategy ready, and the crew chiefs and the team owners, they're really working on plans, but at the moment I see nobody really doing something. They're all on 4 to 5 laps at the moment, so because of the full course yellow, you're forced now to somehow push your way into the top 10.
131.522 is the current benchmark out on circuit. Vittorio Garelli almost a second quicker than anybody else right now. That's certainly not representative of the gap between him and the field by the time we get into Superpole, I don't think. Obviously, we saw that Thomas Chrysonis didn't get to register a competitive time because he ended up pulled up on circuit. We haven't seen Simone Giussani of Double V Racing out on the circuit. Andre, can you provide any insights on that? Were there issues with that car yesterday?
I didn't see any big issues, so I'm a little bit confused as well. But I will head down to the pits after this qualifying session so I can grab the pole award winner. But maybe I have a chance to check with Double V Racing what's going on there and with Simone Giussani. I will try.
If not, EuroNASCAR.com, I'm sure we'll have the scoop, as will the social media channels, before we go racing. Courtesy of the diligent work of Andre, Jan, and indeed our colleague Razor as well, who's a big part of the media team, even though he's not on site at the circuit. Good morning to him. I don't remember exactly what the time zone is, but I'm sure he's a little bit further into the day than us right now here in Europe. The number 50 car of Liam Hazeman's, then slight change to the livery, I note. A little bit more blue on the back of that car this weekend, and Hazeman's looking to challenge for the title. Of course, he has experience of winning a championship from his 2022 EuroNASCAR 2 title. He was the junior trophy champion as well last year, which of course he's fighting hard with Paul Giuffreau for this season, in addition to the overall title. Good lap there from Hazeman. He set to 132.285. That puts him third in the standings. Paul Giuffreau, meanwhile, second fastest right now in the session with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. He's at a 131.882, so just about 3/10 behind Vittorio Garelli. Garelli, who incidentally with his 131.5 is back in the pit lane, so clearly he feels like he has done enough. I see that Giuffreau has also been quite slow on this lap. I suggest that's probably an in lap then. He might well be headed into the pit lane as well. Are there any surprises outside the top 10 right now? Yes. One of them being Tobias Downhauer. The number 99 car is yet to set a time within the top 10. The driver who has the qualifying lap record here, Tobias Downhauer, who took that brilliant result for promotion here last year, made a little bit of history on home turf. He is currently outside of the top 10. That would be a big upset. He's just coming across the line now, as a matter of fact, Tobias Downhauer, and he does just now get into the top 10, but only in 10th place. So it looks like the promotion car maybe not fully compliant right now with Tobias Downhauer, because we know how fast he is around this Motorsport Arena Oschersleben.
Yeah, they had some gearbox issues yesterday, so they missed the first free practice session, and therefore they had not the time to find the right setup or to fine-tune it that much, and the lack of track time, of course, will hinder Tobias Downhauer to be at his best performance. So maybe he's now finding some more tenths of a second during this session and to create a better racing setup. We saw in the past that Tobias Downhauer is definitely one of those drivers able to pass. He knows the track really well, so let's see. But at the moment, he's the driver at risk to go out of the top 10. We have to watch what Martin Dubek is doing, because he's definitely capable of maybe getting into the top 10 as well as Sebastian Blekemolen. There are some big names outside of the top 10 right now.
Very compelling situation. Of course, the top 10 will advance into Superpole here. It's Garelli from Giuffreau, from Hazeman's, Delso, Erkeli, Armetta, Vargas, Goossens, Lasser and Downhauer. Your current top 10. They will advance through into a 5-minute Superpole session, should there be no further improvements. Downhauer's about to cross the line again. I imagine he's stayed in it for this flying lap. Erkeli's decided that he has done enough. He pulls back in. Downhauer, in fact, didn't complete the lap, so I think he's satisfied that he's done enough as well. But I don't know if that's a guarantee, because Sebastian Blekemolen's about to cross the line. Ulysse Delso on a lap as well, but he's well in the top 10. Downhauer crosses the line now and is remaining in 10th place. Blekemolen did not improve. What about Dubek? What about Siortsis? They're both coming through the final sector at the moment. Delso secure in 4th place. He crosses the line to register yet another lap time. Just coming towards the line now. At the back of shot there was Vladimiros Tsiortzis, and Tsiortzis goes 8th fastest. Tsiortzis has knocked Downhauer out of Superpole, and Martin Dubek doesn't go quicker. Only a couple of drivers left now to cross the line. Dombrowski, Neumann and Liam Lambert, as well as Nick Strickler. It would be an upset for any of them to be in the top 10 in EuroNASCAR Pro here. And I don't think we're going to see it on this occasion, but Vladimiros Tsiortzis, who has been really looking to reclaim some of that magic that we saw from him in previous seasons with Alex Caffey Academy Motorsport. Well, he struck a blow there to a race winner from last year. Tobias Downhauer will not be in Superpole at the circuit where 12 months ago he and Promotion hit the highest of highs.
Yeah, that was really, really close. But that's the cool thing about this format. It's really thrilling. Adam, I have to go downstairs right now. Superpole is quite short, so you have to do that alone because I want to grab the driver. And there's one thing. Somebody told me something yesterday. Take a look who's going to wave the checkered flag in Superpole. So see you later.
Okay. Camera on that, please, Ivan and team. That sounds interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one. So then, the Superpole session will begin momentarily. The cars will head out onto the circuit in the order that they've just finished the qualifying session in. So it will be Vittorio Gorelli out there first, then Giuffreau, then Liam Hasemans, then Gilles Delso, Luca Lasser, Gianmarco Ercoli, who was 6th in the session, Fabrizio Armetta, Vladimiros Tsiortzis, Ryan Vargas, who ultimately was only 9th fastest there, so he's only just gotten through. Maybe he's saving some tyre for that Superpole run. And then Mark Goossens, the last one to get through into Superpole. He will be the last one to join the queue for the 5-minute Superpole session. Everyone will have 2 bites of the cherry. That's 2 flying laps to try and set a fast lap time, which will determine the first 5 rows of the grid. There is your top 10 again. Gorelli, Giuffreau, Hasemans, Delso, Lasser, Ercoli, Armetta, Tsiortzis, Vargas and Goossens. Of course, those can all shuffle up in Superpole, but we do know 11th place back on the grid now for the EuroNASCAR Pro race later on today. Tobias Downhauer and Martin Dubek, 11th and 12th. That's a very strong 6th row of the grid. Sebastian Blakemolen, 13th fastest, ahead of Thomas Dombrowski. Victor Neumann in 15th, Liam Lambert in 16th, Massimilio Lanza in 17th, Dario Casso, Konstantin Scholl and Thomas Tefel bringing us down to 20th. Nick Strickler and Riccardo Romagnoli finished their laps. Simone Giussani never got out onto the circuit. And of course, Thomas Chrysonis never really got started either. He did half a lap and then the car expired. And it'll be interesting to see whether they've recovered that car so that Chrysonis can actually get out onto the circuit for this EuroNASCAR 2 session that will follow Superpole. Of course, the likes of Martin Dubek also will be qualifying for EuroNASCAR 2 a little bit later in the broadcast, but up next is Superpole for EuroNASCAR Pro. We are going to determine the top 10 going into the first race of the playoffs later on this afternoon in just a few moments' time. They're already queuing up at the end of pit lane. We will not be taking too long here. Of course, the weekend starts in EuroNASCAR Pro with festivities, and we did have that again this weekend. We headed down into the nearest town and had our parade, which is always a highlight. The fans getting up close and personal. A few of the personnel getting to ride in the car as well. Those of you that follow Ryan Vargas on socials will have seen that he was giving his girlfriend a ride in the EuroNASCAR on the way downtown in for the parade. And you see a lot of that as well. A few people riding shotgun A great experience, I'm sure, being in a pure racing machine on the public roads, and also a great experience to see the colourful liveries and colourful atmosphere of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series spread from the racetrack into the local area. And any fans that didn't know what was coming that weekend, or this weekend, around the surrounds of Oschersleben will have no doubt heard our cars and seen our cars, and bought a ticket to come along this weekend. The Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in its second season with us, after, of course, a stunning weekend in 2023, and with the playoffs double points format expanding from just the last destination at Zolder to the last 4 races of the year, the last 2 weekends of the year. This is an even more critical weekend than it was last year in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, and this superpole session is certainly going to be tricky. Got some word from Razor from the EuroNASCAR media team. He's stationed out in Indonesia, where it's currently just gone 3:20 p.m. Gosh, I wish. Early start over here on the western end of the world, as the number 24 car of Vittorio Garelli leads them out into superpole. Paul Giffreau, look at that, nailed to the rear of Vittorio Garelli. He was eager to get out onto the circuit. We are ready to go for the superpole session. Everybody will have 2 cracks at it, 2 flying laps. Little margin for error here in the superpole section of the day. Will it be Garelli, who has had a perfect streak so far of superpoles? Can he do it again in this NASCAR Whelen Euro Series season? He and PK Car Sport, of course, together again. Last year he raced with Team Blake Molen and was a championship contender. Paul Giffreau really getting into the head here, I think, of Vittorio Garelli, really hassling and hounding him, giving Garelli something to think about, giving him reason to maybe get a little bit frustrated before that first flying lap. This strikes me as mind games, to put it lightly. They begin their first of 2 flying laps then. A 1:31.5 was the quickest time that we saw in the qualifying session that was just gone. And of course the fastest ever time here in EuroNASCAR is Tobias Dauenhauer with the 1:31.364 here last year, so we're already within a couple of tenths of that. Let's see where we go. 31 is definitely required here to have any shot at a front row, and it's these two, Giffreau and Garelli, who come out of qualifying, come into this superpole looking the most likely to be in the top 10, and indeed, or no, to be on the front row is what I wanted to say. They were a good 4 tenths clear of Liam Hazeman's, who was in the 32, so at least based on the form we saw in quali, you'd expect superpole to go to one of these 2 drivers, but perhaps Hazeman's was just leaning on a little bit of extra time that he'll now unleash in superpole, saving those Hoosier tyres, which, as Andre alluded to earlier on in the broadcast, do have to last all weekend from here on out. Through the final corner comes Garelli and Giffreau. Both laps have looked a little bit scraggly at times, but let's see what lap times we get. Both in the 32s. Garelli a 32.1, Giffreau a 32.1, but it's Garelli who's faster of the 2. Liam Hazeman's with a 1 minute 32.382 as well. So it is Garelli from Giffreau as the drivers continue to come across the line. Ryan Vargas goes 8th fastest, 9th fastest ahead of Ciortis, but other than that, everybody is pretty much slotted in where you'd expect them. Mark Goossens actually a little bit faster than anticipated. He's 6th right now on a 1:32.560. Of course, he got into the superpole by the skin of his teeth in 10th position. Meanwhile, Garelli and Giuffreau on their second rotation of the circuit, heading through the chicane onto the back straight at the moment. Garelli was a 10th quicker through the first sector than Paul Giuffreau. Second sector split will be coming up in the next few moments, and again Garelli is quicker by 4/10 than Paul Giuffreau, so Garelli is looking like he's on for a very quick lap here. This should be well into the 1:31s. It could well be good enough for pole position unless somebody else is doing something special, and there aren't any sector times currently quicker than that of Vittorio Garelli. Garelli comes across the line. What is his time? It's a 1:31.416. That is a great time from Garelli. That could be pole. Liam Hazeman's with a 1:32.066. He outpaces Paul Giuffreau to take the front row. Giuffreau 3rd, Ercole 4th, Delso 5th. Here comes Mark Goossens across the line along with Vladimir Osiortis and Ryan Vargas. Goossens goes 5th fastest ahead of Ulis Delso. Siortis 7th fastest as well, so Siortis getting a good time in there. Vargas 8th, Lasser in 9th, and Fabrizio Armetta will end up 10th in that session. I think that Armetta might have had lap time deleted at some point during that run. But he is in the superpole. He's not showing there on the graphics, but he would be 10th ahead of the likes of Dubek. I think we're missing a couple from that graphic on the timing tower, but it's correct about Garelli and Hazeman's. That will be the front row then, and our 3 primary championship contenders that are all within 10 points of one another, Garelli, Hazeman's and Giuffreau. They make up the top 3, and our defending champion, our 4th place man in the current point standings, will join them on the second row. Your championship top 4 will be the top 4 heading into the race here today at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. Playoff race number 1, playoff semi-final 1, and it will be Vittorio Garelli that leads it from pole position. That is going to be very compelling indeed, with Hazeman's alongside him into the first corner. Of course, that fast flick left into the right-hander at Hotel. Thankfully, we don't use that corner that went YouTube famous. But that will be a very interesting run to turn 1. Giuffreau and Ercole will be looking to get a good start as well and challenge into the first section of the lap. Goossens with a good result in 5th place. Ulis Delso in 6th. Vladimir Osiortis 7th. Ryan Vargas 8th place. Luca Lasser in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Fabrizio Armetta in the number 55. Rounding out our top 10 ahead of the drivers that we already know the positions of, the likes of Downhauer, Dubek and Blakemolen. But it's Vittorio Garelli who once again sets the pace. Another pole award will end up in the hands of the Italian, who has been insatiable and unbeatable so far in terms of lap times this season. No one has had the honour of beating him in a superpole yet this season, and that is a streak that looks rather likely to continue. He is looking quick. There you see the PK Car Sport machine being pushed away. We didn't actually get to see who was waving the flag after Andre hyped it up. I'm assuming it was Andre, but I didn't know if that's what he was getting at or not for sure. Vittorio Garelli, though, with the fastest time across the beam, the only driver as well to set a 1:31 in that superpole, a 1:31.416. And his closest competition, Liam Hazeman's, a 1:32.066, so 6/10 quicker. A great example of just how much speed we're seeing out of Vittorio Garelli this year. Of course, race pace and quali pace are rather different from each other. Even when Garelli has looked unbeatable for one lap pace, we haven't seen him walk away with these races, so by no means should we expect him to just drive away from the rest of the field come the race later on. But he definitely gets started on the right path as he looks to continue holding that championship lead that he's had with a clutch for most of the season. Garelli has been a dominant force so far this year. PK Carsport and the Italian driver, a former EuroNASCAR 2 champion, of course, have been looking at times close to unbeatable. Will the likes of Heismans, Dufresne, Erkeli, even Goossens, Del So, will they be able to challenge him come the race later on? Have confirmation from Andre that Andre was the man waving the checkered flag at the end of the top 10 superpole, so he's got several jobs on the go. He's co-commentating when he can, he's down in the pit lane interviewing drivers, and he's even assisting the flag marshals down there coming out of the last corner. Busy man indeed. He'll be catching up with Vittorio Garelli in the next few moments to present a pole award to the driver of the 24. And of course, our qualifying action is by no means over yet, because EuroNASCAR 2's qualifying session, 20 minutes in length, will be firing up in the next few minutes as well. So we will determine the grid for EuroNASCAR 2. No superpole there, just a straight run to the end of the session. And the entirety of the grid will be determined by that 20-minute quali. So that will be one to watch. Of course, it'll be Martin Dubek looking to continue his rich run of form in that session. Fans starting to flock into the circuit. Hopefully just about everybody is at least getting towards the circuit now, with some of the delays going on outside the track this morning. But the American flags around the circuit tell the story. It is always a celebration of Americana when the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series is in town. And look at the metal in the paddock, the pickups, the police cars, the muscle cars. They're all in that paddock, and, well, you even see the banners suggesting there might be some German rednecks in town as well. Vittorio Garelli, the fastest man with a breakneck speed. Andre.
Thank you so much, Adam. I'm here with the Pole Award winner again, Vittorio Garelli. You're getting used to it, right?
Yeah, it was a nice lap, really nice lap. The car was not the easiest, but it was very fast. So we did a really fantastic job with the PK Carsport in the free practice. We fine-tuned everything, and this morning it was flying, really. So not easy, but we made it. 6 out of 6 is very good. I'm very confident to bring it home.
This track is considered to be very important to be on pole position because there are not that many overtaking opportunities, they say. Normally, I see the opposite then in the races. I do not believe drivers anymore when they say you cannot overtake here. But what do you think? Pole position, how important is it here at that track?
Yeah, it's always good to start in the front, but then the race is another story. So you have to bring it home. You have to keep the rhythm, no mistakes. It's quite a narrow track, so it's not like ideal. But if you're faster, then you can find the space, to overtake. So we have to keep focused, keep working, and we'll see.
All right, grazie mille, congratulations, thank you so much, and back to you, Adam.
Have to do like number 6.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, man.
Andre.
Congrats.
Just heard there a little bit of extra audio. I don't know if it was in the broadcast, but it was in my ears. Vittorio Garelli saying we have to figure out how to do number 6 while holding my pole award. And that is certainly the case. Garelli undefeated in Super Poles. The statistician in me really hopes that he manages to sweep the Super Poles, because that would be one incredible statistic. So then the EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying session is about to get underway here. The drivers will soon line up and get ready to go. Of course, a lot of those cars were just running in EuroNASCAR Pro, so they'll change the tyres over, they'll change the drivers over where applicable, and send them back out into the action. There you see the countdown to green. We are just over 4 minutes away from the start of EuroNASCAR 2's qualifying session. Of course, a man we've already mentioned today, Martin Dubek, is the driver with the high ground here this weekend in EuroNASCAR 2. He has had a fabulous season, compounded with a victory on home turf at the Autodrom Most, the Czech driver having a great result there to conclude his regular season. A regular season that has been exceedingly dominant. And we are yet to see anyone really look likely to outpace Dubek this year. Outrace? Perhaps. Outpace? No. He has been quick this year in EuroNASCAR 2, but with drivers like Patrick Schauber, who of course claimed a win here last season, Claudio Remeggio Capelli, who almost managed to get a great result here last year, had an incident in the final lap in, I think, the first race here last year. And then some of the other front runners, such as Melvin de Groot as well, well up there, I'm sure. In fact, it was Melvin de Groot who had the fastest time of anybody in EuroNASCAR 2 free practice yesterday. So the gentle Dutch giant, who really looked to be on form at the Autodrom Most, where the Blekemolen cars often do very well. We'll have to see whether Melvin has once again got the pace to challenge for the front row here going into this race. This will be a 20-minute qualifying to determine this evening's EuroNASCAR 2 grid. They will race later on in the day into the sunset this weekend. But as we said, it is Martin Dubek who leads the championship at this juncture. Has been very fast so far this year. The number 99 car there of Dominique Schack, of course, Promotion, looking very fast in this weekend last year, so he'll have some confidence that they know how to get the car hooked up for this place. Martin Dubek then with a 49-point lead at this juncture in the standings. Patrick Schauber is his closest competition, 49 back. But even with 320 points, 352 points left to score this season, Martin Dubek with almost 50 points worth of advantage. I don't know if that's unprecedented. I don't remember a season where there's been a bigger gap going into the playoffs. But Dubek has been exemplary. By no means has he sewn up this title with so many points left to score. But he has proven something of a point that he is going to be tough to beat going into the double points playoffs. And Patrick Schauber second in the standings. Thomas Tuffel, we've often lauded for his improvements going into season two of his EuroNASCAR career. He is third in the points at the moment, ahead of Jill Linster, ahead of Thomas Chrysonis. Chrysonis, who of course we're hoping we'll see in this session after his car broke down on him in EuroNASCAR Pro Quali. We'll keep an eye for the 46, the orange and black Celsius-backed Marco Stipp Motorsport car. Melvin de Groot is 7th in the points, 82 back, and tied with Jack Davidson. By no means is Melvin out of the championship hunt either, especially if he continues his Most form, and particularly if we get a little bit of faltering from further up the field. Once again, this championship could go many ways from here on out, but it is Martin Dubek with the indisputable high ground at the front of the order, at the top of the standings. The qualifying session begins then, and everybody heads out onto the circuit for what will be a 20-minute session. Let's see who can be quickest this weekend. A year ago here in the EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying session, it was Paul Giffreau who was fastest of all with a 131.655 in that car, now taken over by Patrick Schauber in the world of EuroNASCAR 2, of course. So Patrick knows he can win here. He knows that the car is quick here because RDV Competition had a solid run in last year's EuroNASCAR 2 quali here. And let's see if Schauber can make it happen. The Austrian driver, I think, closest to home this weekend. Let's see what he can do. So Andre, busy man, you've done your interviewing, you've done your checkered flag. But now we find out who your second interview of the day is. Who will get that EuroNASCAR 2 pole award? Looking at free practice, looking at what you've seen so far this weekend, who do you reckon is going to be there on the front row?
Man, I have no clue. They were all so close together, and there are so many contenders for the pole position, and I don't want to get the commentator's curse to anyone there, so I will stay quiet. I have some names on my list, but I will not say anything because in the end I'm at fault if something is going wrong then. So therefore we just see. At the moment I think still we have the top contenders there, like Patrick Schauber, like Martin Dubeck, and so on. But I think with some drivers being surprisingly fast this weekend here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, there may be also a surprise. For example, Victor Neumann was quite fast in free practice. He was really surprising, really impressing. And also we have to take a look what Dominic Shark is doing, because he grew up here at the track. He did his first karting here. He's working here. He knows every inch of the track. And last year when he made his EuroNASCAR debut, he was quite fast. So with the experience he gained over the season, he's maybe one of the guys going into the top 10 or top 5 even, if the car is working. I was at the 27 box before I waved the checkered flag. Yes, that was really cool. Childhood dream, another box tickled, so everything's cool there. But Double V said that Simone Giussani is only doing EuroNASCAR 2 this weekend. They made this decision. And for the 46 car, they didn't find the issue yet, but it was somehow fuel related for Thomas Krasonis. But I think the car is good again because he's back on track and quite fast.
That's great news. We just saw him actually in the back of shot there. So Krasonis is running, and that is hugely important for him. Martin Dubeck was only 6th fastest coming into this qualifying session in free practice yesterday. Of course, what we don't know is what kind of tyres he was using in free practice. We know that Patrick Schauber typically uses quite old tyres for Friday, and he was still 2nd fastest here yesterday at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben across both free practice sessions. So that potentially puts Patrick Schauber in good stead. We're yet to see any true representative flying laps across the board yet. Jack Davidson currently fastest of all, of course, the man who took his first EuroNASCAR victory, and indeed Great Britain's first ever race victory in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series at Brands Hatch. Some off-roading there. Was that Melvin de Groot? It was one of the Team Blake Molen cars. I think it was the 69. That is not the line through Hotel, Melvin. Hopefully that car is okay. Doesn't look like he's going to pull to one side, so that would suggest it was just a slight error. But that's really easy to do in that first section of the circuit, as we're also seeing from the 55 of Gordon Barnes, the Club Challenge champion many times over. He's racing again this weekend in EuroNASCAR 2, and that is great to see. His 3rd racing appearance of the year in addition to his Club Challenge appearances. But that's the thing. The first corner, it's a fast left-hander, and you've got to slow the car down effectively all the way through the left to then get the car hooked up for the apex into the critical right-hander of Hotel. We saw it last year, I think, from memory. I think Anthony Kumpen had a moment there last year in one of the races as well in EuroNASCAR Pro. Even the most experienced can get caught out by a situation like that where you're having to nail the apex of the first turn, all while setting the car up for the second. Minutes.
And just check.
Of
yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say that I think that the lap times will go down and down in this session, because we had 133.322 at the moment with Jack Davidson, but we know there's a lot of more potential there on track right now. Thomas Toffel yesterday told me that he really eyes to become the EuroNASCAR 2 champion. He's third at the moment in the overall standings. He didn't win a race yet, but his consistency was quite good. So he really says, if Martin Dubeck struggles, I'm there. I will take advantage. I want the title. So I'm really curious to see what Thomas Toffel is going to do. And here we have the championship leader with the red Whelen banner. So everybody put the eyes on Martin Dubeck. Everybody wants to beat the Czech, who was really dominant this season so far. But Adam, do you have one or two drivers in mind that really could beat Martin in his form?
I mean, it's hard to say, isn't it? The safe bet is really for what goes on between 2nd and 10th. There's probably going to be more shuffling there than there is between 1st and 2nd, because it's 49 points, as we have already alluded to, between Dubeck and Schauber, and then it's 33 points between Patrick Schauber in 2nd and Jack Davidson in 8th place. So there's a lot of drivers very close together from 2nd back, but with over 350 points left to score. For sure, Martin Dubeck is by no means guaranteed. But if you are a driver like Thomas Toffel, who is yet to claim a win this season, as we see another driver caught out by turn 2, that's the most experienced driver, Mikael Bleekemolen, so if he gets caught out, anyone can. But for someone like Toffel, it's critical now that he gets that victory. Yes, he's been consistent so far this year. Yes, he's been strong, he's been solid, he's improved massively this season. Perhaps he's also done a bit of rallycross over the break that we didn't know about. But he needs to get wins. With that 10-point deficit between winning and coming second in playoffs, wins are critical. Jack Davidson pushing too hard, I'm going to have to say, as he gets past Martin Dubeck there, but clearly showing that he is pushing on. Of course, 8th in the standings. He could well, of course, still be perhaps even in the top 3 come the end of the season. So he wants to try and get a good run here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. A good display there of just how tricky it is at turn 1 and 2, watching those two fully attack the corner. But it does look like, in general, we're seeing a bit of desperation for everybody to get some clean air and get some laps on the board. The fastest lap so far belongs to Thomas Toffel, 132.378, which he set last time by. So even with that rally crossing, that was a strong 32. And I remember here last year that, again, Toffel's consistency netted him an overall podium here at Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. But it wasn't just the consistency in what was a chaotic race, it was also his pace. I think he likes Oschersleben. That's always the impression I've gotten from the performances of that 34 Race Art Technology car. So if I was going to suggest anyone to beat the sheer form of Dubeck this weekend, wouldn't mind betting it is the 34 car.
And he's really fast at the moment. First in this session at the moment with a 132.378. And I'm receiving comments, Adam. I know that I have a little bit of a German accent, but why do I receive comment that I sound like Nico Rosberg? I mean, he's a Formula 1 champion. I take that as a compliment. But what do you say about that? I receive a lot of comments at the moment.
I say one single-seater race and you're already being compared to the 2016 F1 World Champion. What on earth is going on? Crazy.
I have no clue.
No?
By the way, Thomas Toffel is coming now to the pits, so maybe he thinks this lap time is good enough. He's entering the pits right now, maybe just saving some tires, waiting for the others to improve the lap times and to see if he has to do one more lap. But I think he's quite comfortable to have a lap time that's good enough to stay on top of the standings, or at least, let's say, inside the top 5.
Well, if you're Nico Rosberg, I dread to think what people are saying about who I sound like. Thomas Dombrowski, currently second fastest, also into the pit lane. So 1:32.835 was his last time. He comes into the pits. Now, do you think we're going to see these guys come back out there? Are they just adjusting the tyre pressures, or are they really that confident that they've extracted everything from the car?
I think they will save the tires and just take a look at the timing sheets. If they are in danger to lose that position, they will go out again, maybe with some adjustments. But I think everybody now who has a good time will try to just save the tires because they have to last the 2 races. By the way, a funny thing at the moment, a very entertaining thing. We have 3 Thomases on top of the standings. Thomas Toffel ahead of Thomas Dombrowski, ahead of Thomas Krasonis, but now Martin Dubek stormed into second.
There you go. He heard your point and decided to immediately break it. Thomas Dombrowski back out onto the circuit. Tafel still in the pit lane, but Martin Dubek showing some of that pace. A 1:32.500, exactly 1:32 and a half. Let's see if he can go quicker than that. Thomas Tafel will be, I'm sure, looking at the timing screen and going, okay, as we see the 47 of Victor Neumann go rally crossing, and while he does that, Jill Linster, 0.004 of a second off of Tafel's best. Thomas, if you think you're safe in pole position, get back in the seat of that car, friend, because they're getting faster and faster. Martin Dubek on the attack, noticeably through the chicane there. You could see him right on the limit of adhesion through each apex of the chicane. How is the lap looking so far on the splits? He did a personal best first sector. He'll be coming through sector 2 at the moment, and it was a personal best sector 2. In fact, it wasn't a personal best in sector 1. I eat my words there. But it was a PB in sector 2. He's yet to have a purple sector though, Martin Dubek, so he is not quite showing a time, I don't think, that will beat Tafel unless he has a brilliant final sector. Linster was personal best through sector 1 though, a 33.3, which is pretty much in step with the fastest time of the session so far, but he obliterates the fastest middle sector. So Linster could be on for a pole lap, at least a provisional pole lap here as he comes through the penultimate corner. Dubek has just crossed the line. He's gone quicker, but he remains in third. Neumann, who we saw off the track, is currently 4th fastest as well. So everybody is clearly pushing. Here comes Jill Linster across the line, and it is not quite enough. A 1:32.476. He doesn't improve on his best. The front row of the grid currently set by 0.004 of a second. This is why we love the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. These cars are so close, so evenly matched. These drivers are so talented and evenly matched. And Thomas Tafel, our current provisional pole sitter, has got the helmet back on, and he's ready to go for another flyer.
Victor Neumann came into the pits. I think there will be some adjustments to maybe attack again. Like I said, he had the rallycross thing going on there in one of the last laps, but he is so fast here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. He's a really nice surprise this weekend, the Markenstedt Motorsport driver from France. So Victor Neumann, we have to keep an eye on him. He's also leading at the moment the rookie trophy ahead of Mario Ercoli, who is in 11th, and then Florian Richard in 12th. Then we have Giussani in 13th and Julian Rehberg, who led the rookie trophy until Moss, but then he made a few mistakes. He was involved in a very terrifying starting crash when he got up into the air. Nothing happened there, nothing bad, but it looked spectacular. But Rehberg is also looking here at his home race to be back on top of the rookie trophy standings. And when we take a look at the Legend Trophy for drivers age 40 and more, we have Melvin de Groot in 7th place ahead of Claudio Remigio Capelli. And I think if those two drivers would not have had bad luck this season, we would have seen those guys fighting it out all season long. At the moment, Melvin de Groot is leading this special classification, and one of the chasers, Michael Blekemolen, he's only in 16th. So it's maybe the battle between Melvin de Groot and Claudio Remigio Capelli, a roof maker from Italy with a very, very nice beard.
Dario Casso, Mario Ercoli just rejoining the circuit there. So our second fastest rookie at this stage having a bit of an issue. Capelli and Melvin, I agree, two drivers who maybe should have had some better form than they have had this year. Not quite had the results that their pace has sometimes deserved, but Capelli has just gone third fastest. He goes within a tenth of Thomas Tuffel's benchmark, and that means that the top four are currently just within a tenth. 900ths of a second separating the top four right now. It's Tuffel from Linster, from Capelli from Dubeck at present here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. Here comes Capelli. He's on another fairly quick lap, a solid first sector as the dust is kicked up from the car ahead of him. Second sector not looking that impressive, so I don't think this is going to be a headline-stealing lap from Capelli. If anything, it looks like he might have backed out of it slightly. Let's see whether he goes to the pits. Linster is just coming across the line, and I don't think that was an improvement from him. No, it was a 35, so I think he was just saving tyre. Now, does Capelli stay out there? Yes, he does. So Claudio Remigio Capelli feels like he's got a bit more time to find. We're in the final 3 minutes of this session. The top five are split by just over a tenth. The man in fifth is Thomas Chrysonis, recovering from the disappointment just now in EuroNASCAR Pro qualifying. He could be a front row starter. He's got the pace. He comes across the line at the moment. This lap isn't that strong, but Chrysonis is going to have at least one more flyer. But this pole award could go one of 5 ways. I don't know who you're going to speak to in a minute, Andre.
I have no clue. I'm going downstairs right now, and we see. I will have you in my ear, so you really have to shout there who's going to win the pole, so I know who I have to pick up. But this is what I said at the beginning of the EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying. I have no clue. It's so close. It's so competitive. And this is what I love about EuroNASCAR. So I will leave you alone right now and try to grab whoever is going to be the pole sitter here.
I hope those 5 garages are close to each other, Andre. Thomas Tuffel, still the pace setter, and in fact he's gone into the pits again, so he maybe has decided, I don't need to go quicker. Maybe his team have fed back to him. You know what, nobody's really improving at the moment except for Patrick Schauber, the driver in the RDV competition car that won the pole award here 12 months ago in the hands of Paul Dufro. That was second in the standings just now in EuroNASCAR Pro. And he just went 6th fastest, only 2/10 off of the very fastest time we've seen so far. And on the lap he's currently on, the number 3 car has just set a personal best first sector. Some dust being kicked up there in the face of Martin Dubeck. And of course, with these cars not having windows, having window nets, there's a solid chance that he's just had it all up in his grill, the dirt and dust from the side of the circuit. So he won't thank Nick Strickler for that particularly. They make their way through the final section of the circuit. There is Patrick Schauber. How is his second sector? His second sector is another personal best. He's looking really quick. He's got one more corner. Mikael Bleekemolen is just ahead of him, but shouldn't delay Patrick Schauber. The young Austrian slides it out of the final corner. He's currently 6th fastest. Where will he be as he breaks the beam? He goes top! Patrick Schauber, a 132.128. He nails the lap. Personal best sector 1, personal best sector 2, purple, best of anybody in the third and final sector. Patrick Schauber has now set the benchmark for the rest of the field, a 132.128. Everybody was close together at the front of the order. He now has exactly a quarter of a second over the pack with just 3 seconds left of the session. The number 3 is on top here in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying session. You see more dust and dirt being kicked up at turns 1 and 2. Drivers still pushing hard here, but nobody in the top 10 is currently setting personal best sectors, so maybe this is it. Maybe Patrick Schauber has come alive at just the right moment here in this EuroNASCAR 2 session. Here comes Martin Dubeck through the final corner of the lap. This lap is not looking particularly world-beating, but let's see if the final sector proves me wrong. Dubeck across the line now. Dubeck remains in 5th place. That's going to be a little bit disappointing for the championship leader to only be in P5. Still not seeing any likely improvements at the sharp end of the order. But that was a stunning lap from Patrick Schauber at just the right time. Patrick Schauber, who of course is second in the standings at the moment. Everybody else crossing the line. The order, by the looks of it, is all but set in stone. And it is Patrick Schauber on pole. Thomas Tuffel stays second with his 32.378. Jill Linster, third fastest in the session. Claudio Armeggio Capelli takes 4th. Martin Dubeck, 5th fastest. He's going to have some work to do if he wants to try and get another race win and try and extend his points lead. Thomas Chrysonis, 6th fastest. Great recovery for him and Marco Stitt Motorsport at their home event. Victor Neumann, Thomas Dombrowski, Melvin de Groot and Jack Davidson round out your top 10 in the session. Mario Ercoli, the second of the rookie drivers in the standings. He finishes 11th in the session. Victor Neumann, the fastest of the rookie drivers. Incidentally, Claudio Armeggio Capelli, the fastest of the legends, being 4th on the grid. The rest of the grid from Ercoli down in 12th place, Florian Richard, Simone Giussani 13th, Julian Reberg in 14th place, Viti Riala in 15th, Nick Strickler in 16th place, Mikael Blekemolen in 17th, Dominic Schuck in 18th place, Luli Del Castello in P19. Great to have her with us for the second time this season. Reza Sardeha in 20th place, the winner yesterday in the Club Challenge regularity format event. Gordon Barnes, the champion, defending champion in that regularity format, 21st on his second appearance in EuroNASCAR 2 this season. And Ariana Casoli in 22nd place. We did not see the 43 Club Motorsport entry of Giovanni Faronio out there on the circuit. Hopefully we'll see that car out later on. But it is Patrick Schauber then who steals the headlines in EuroNASCAR 2 for the second year in a row. RDV competition have the quickest car in EuroNASCAR 2 here in Oschersleben. We get a look at the point standings now, confirming what we were discussing earlier on. Martin Dubeck 49 clear of Patrick Schauber. Tuffel, Linster, Chrysonis, your top 5 in the point standings, and all of the drivers in the top 5 in the point standings are in the top 6 on the grid. So all of the front runners are right where they need to be, and Claudio Armeggio Capelli 10th in the standings, 99 back. He's got a long way to go and a lot of beating to do if he wants to try and claim a championship this year in Legend Trophy or in the overall standings, but 4th on the grid might well be helpful for him as well. A great qualifying session. Martin Dubeck, though, with double points available, I think he'll be disappointed with 5th position. Of course, if things were to finish in the exact order that we have qualified here, he would lose 18 points from his 49-point lead to Patrick Schauber, and that would not be optimal for Dubeck at all. You cannot afford to drop that many points to your closest title rival on a consistent basis in the double points, because at the end of the season, well, he won't be the points leader anymore. Patrick Schauber will be buoyant, I'm sure. The confidence he will now be feeling will be incredibly handy. He and RDV competition, of course, a new pairing for this year. Patrick Schauber moving on from Double V to join the RDV competition crew. That has proven to pay dividends this year. He really hit some great form. I think he had his best weekend of the season from a pure race pace perspective at Autodrom Most a few weeks ago, and that form looks to have followed him into Oschersleben. I think he might have found a little something, a 0.5% or something extra coming out of the summer break going into the second half of the season, and Patrick Schauber is going to be our pole sitter. And here is Patrick Schauber now with Andre.
Thank you so much, Adam. Another pole award for you, and it was a very late attempt with the last lap. You made it happen. The top 5 were separated by just 1/10 of a second, and then out of nowhere, it was you.
Yeah, I finally managed to find a lap where I had no traffic, because the first 10 minutes of the qualifying I struggled really with the pace and like where to find a trafficless lap. But yeah, then I was driving behind a fast car who I knew that he was fast, and yeah, then I thought that yeah, this has to be the lap, no mistakes now, fully concentrate on what you do, and yeah, we managed to do it again.
Just qualifying pace, or do you think you have also a good setup for the race pace?
Oh, definitely. We worked on the setup throughout the weekend, and we found the perfect setup for our car on this track. So yeah, I think it will be a good race, and hopefully I can do again a start-finish victory.
Right, danke und congratulations and good luck for the race. Back to you, Adam.
Andre Viegold, definitely not Nico Rosberg, interviewing our pole sitter Patrick Schauber, who is delighted with his efforts, looking to claim a win at a circuit that he secured a victory at last year. The EuroNASCAR 2 grid is formed. We've already formed the EuroNASCAR Pro field, of course, earlier on today. And Vittorio Garelli with pole position on that grid as well. It will be EuroNASCAR Pro that we see out on circuit here next at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, with that stream beginning from 13:10 Central European Summer Time CEST. These are your times for the rest of the weekend. Make sure you join us to see the races determining the grids with that qualifying session. Based on the grids, we're in for a thrilling Sunday here at Oschersleben.